There's a very brief period of time, and this is true whether you're an artist or a startup company or even a major corporation. There's a brief period of time when somebody first discovers you. They've never heard of you before, and they might mention you on Twitter, on Google, on Facebook, whatever. You have a short ticking clock to get in touch with that person and say, hi, thank you for saying these things about me. Thank you for saying, oh, I found this video on YouTube, I really like it, or I heard this person on Pandora, before they go back to never knowing who you are again. And if you can engage with that person immediately in that very short window, it's the start of a relationship. And you can nurture that relationship, but you have to be there to sort of scoop it up when that person is already engaged with it. And that's the biggest benefit that I've found from Twitter.
And for those of you who don't know Minnow to my right, this man makes a full-time living as a musician, which is no mean feat. And he does it mostly through Ustream and through subscription-based websites, which I did a huge in-depth interview with him on Music Think Tank. It's hard to find artists like Matthew Ebel who do this. And so, don't minnow yourself.
Matthew, you should take 30 seconds and actually tell how we met. It's actually pretty good.
Oh God, yeah, well, you know, I'm not sure whether it was me telling my Twitter followers to spam the hell out of you to come see my show on Ustream, or if you just stumbled across me. But I believe that I was sitting there doing a Ustream show, and I had seen quite a few blog posts on, you know, like Music Think Tank and Hypebot and all these music blogs about this girl Amanda Palmer, who I had only known her as, you know, half of the Dresden Dolls, and she was a big success and all that, and apparently she does this thing called Twitter, which I've been involved in. So I'm like, well, let's see if we can get Amanda Palmer to catch the show or something if she's got a free moment. She came into the chat room, and all of a sudden the chat room just inflated because she tweeted it to her followers, like, hey, check this guy out. And all of a sudden I'm like, you know, 100 people, 200 people, 300 people, 900 people. And had you done any video stuff yourself at that point, like on Ustream?
Yeah, I had done webcasting. I mean, I try to do regular webcasting, but it's one of those things. It's kind of my new frontier of something that I need to spend more time on. But I was really impressed by Matthew, and I sort of, you know, I checked it out and listened to a song, and you know, I sent it back to my Twitter followers. But it was really one of those magical moments, and I've had a few moments like that on the internet, where you really feel like you're part of something very real happening. It's like, you know, and it was a Thursday night or a Tuesday night or something.
Yeah, some off night.
You know, I had a bunch of my Twitter followers hanging out. They were probably all at home. I was hanging out at home. And we all sort of wandered over into this guy's living room. And there was this moment of us all kind of sitting there in the chat room saying, this is so fucking cool. Like, you mentioned this and now we're all watching it. And his regular fan base is really excited that we're all here, and we're all strangers here, and everyone's excited to meet each other. And, you know, it's one of those things that's sort of terrifying because it's so virtual, but it was a moment of real, actual excitement of these two big groups sort of merging.
Well, like, can you imagine, like, if you're playing in a club and then there's the club next door, and then both of them suddenly, you know what, let's just knock this frickin' wall down, and let's all be one big concert for a while with one big crowd of people. It was something that I wish you could see in real life without sledgehammers, you know.
One thing I want to say, you're talking about, it's not only what you do, it's the timing of what you do.
Yeah.
One of the artists that I work with, her name is Frentik, F-R-E-N-T-I-K. The reason I got involved with her was I went to her show at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night. I saw her show, I left the show around midnight, she was really good. The next morning at 9 o'clock, I had an email in my inbox saying, hi, thanks for coming to my show last night. I had signed up on her list, figuring in a week or two I would get a, hi, thanks for joining the whatever. I get an email from her the next morning at 9 a.m. She went home from the show and sent an email out to everyone who came. And I wrote her saying we have to meet, and then we got involved professionally. But she's wonderful, and she's relentless. And there's another artist I work with who is the polar opposite. She went out, I don't want to say who it is, but she went out on the road. She tweeted and blogged, hi, I'm leaving on tour, and then she tweeted and blogged, hi, I'm back. There was a month in between. And she said, I've lost followers, what happened? You have to be timely, you have to respect your audience.
You gotta water them like a garden. Well, we have exactly 2 minutes and 15 seconds. If anybody has any questions, right there, Gio, yeah?
Yes, I'm wondering about what the future of the music industry might look like in 5 years. What would you like to see?
The future of the music industry in the next 5 years.
In the next 5 years, we're moving to, I said I was at EMI up until 2006, and in April of 2006, I learned the power of the web. I'll do this quickly. I gave a speech in Hong Kong for Nokia, and I said, we've reached the beginning of the end of music as a product. We're entering full bore the world of music as a service. And 10 minutes later, I got a call from London saying, what did you say? Somebody had blocked it, and a moment later, they picked it up on a Google alert, and they said, we're going to fire you. And I said, well, I'm leaving in 2 weeks. You want to move it up? That's fine. I think we're moving away from buying tracks, even, I mean, as good as iTunes has been, I think an all-access model, whether it's Mog or Spotify or Napster or Rhapsody, we're going to move to a service model for anywhere from $5 to $10 a month. You get all the music you want. And it's a much better value proposition. And now that you can get it on an iPad or on an Evo or on a, let's say iPhone or a BlackBerry, once you have music in your pocket anywhere you go, and once we have head units in cars, which you don't have to drive much in Boston, but if you're driving around Los Angeles where I live, you're going to have a 3G or a 4G head unit in your car where you won't even need a hard drive.
No, and
it's all going to be about access, so that's it.
In 5 years, it'll be a head unit in your head. Ladies, either of you?
I agree. I also think the cloud is what a lot of futurists are talking about, and just pulling music out of the cloud. I think that's why I'm so hell-bent on helping artists understand that unless you get yourself in that cloud, unless you understand how to have conversations, you are not going to get very far. So I think the future is more do-it-yourself. Unfortunately, it's not the best news. It's not what creatives really want to hear, but I think it's all about understanding your audience. I think also that the idea of mass marketing, millions of people getting to know you, if we're going to see it less and less, we already are, and I think sadly it's going to continue.
Amanda, anything to add?
I definitely agree with both these guys, and I would also say, going from a product to a service, I would say that's actually a return to a way things used to be, and it's actually not that strange. And in that line of thinking, I think what logically follows is that musicians themselves and audiences need to understand that that the divide of musicians and artists as these untouchable, faraway people who are stars, who have made it, is I am hoping that model is going to pretty quickly disappear. But it also means that musicians are going to have to take responsibility for themselves as working musicians. And it's not just like all of a sudden, if you just work hard enough, the fucking limo will show up and whisk you away, and you will have made it.
It won't?
And no, it's not going to happen that way.
It's not coming.
I think that's the most important thing for audiences and musicians nowadays to understand, is that model that exploded in the 70s and 80s is just crashing and burning. And you're going to need to tour and work and be a working musician, and you'll make a living, but it's not going to be an all or nothing game.
And the whole thing about responsibility is really critical. I mean, we went through that same era where you blamed your agent, you blamed your manager, you blamed your label. Now look in the mirror. It's your game to make a hit of.
All right. Well, I don't know about 5 years from now, but in 5 seconds from now, the music is going that way because the clock is now at 0. So thank you guys so much. If you want to ask us any more questions, hit us on Twitter.